Before the rise of Paul, before the throne of the Imperium shifted beneath the weight of prophecy, there was a woman whose life shaped the course of history. Her name does not ring through the corridors of power as loudly as Paul's, yet the truth of his story and the story of the Atreides line cannot be told without her. She was the calm within the storm, the strength behind a revolution, and the heart he never stopped returning to. To understand Paul Atreides, you must understand Chani. Her footsteps began far from any throne, deep in the unforgiving cradle of Arrakis. Chani Kynes was born into a world of bright sunlight, hard stone, and drifting dunes. Her parents, Sietch Kynes and Ferula, raised her within the tight bonds of their desert home. Her mother died early, and the task of guiding Chani fell mostly to Sietch, who carried dreams larger than the desert around them. Chani grew in a land known for taking what it could, yet she thrived beneath its challenges. The sand toughened her feet and sharpened her senses long before she understood her place within its vast story. To grow up as Fremen meant learning the skills of survival as naturally as breathing. Chani ran with other children across slopes of soft sand and narrow rock corridors. She learned to feel vibrations through the ground, to sense worms before their arrival, and to move lightly enough to avoid the rhythm that summoned death. In the evenings, she listened to the elders speak of honor, patience, and the careful way water must be guarded. These lessons shaped her more deeply than any formal training. Her father carried a vision for Arrakis, a vision so vast it felt like a secret whispered to the future. He taught Chani to watch the land with more than her eyes. He showed her plantings hidden in protected basins and spoke of a world that could one day bloom. She did not understand the full weight of his dream, but she felt the hope behind his words. When Sietch died in the deep desert, Chani stood alone in the sand he had studied all his life. She mourned quietly and carried his dream forward without speaking it aloud. As she grew older, whispers drifted into the desert. A noble house had fallen to treachery. A duke was dead. His son and his mother had fled into the wasteland. Chani listened to these stories with a strange sense of recognition. The dreams from her childhood, dreams of an unfamiliar boy with troubled eyes, began to return. She sensed that fate was moving toward her. When Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica were brought before them, Chani stood among those who studied them. She saw the tension in Paul's posture, the grief beneath his calm, and the quiet strength that held him upright despite everything he had lost. Something in her recognized him instantly. The desert often revealed its intentions through moments that made no sense until much later. Their first words held no ceremony. Chani spoke with the confidence of someone who belonged to the desert in a way no outsider could. She told him what he must do to earn acceptance. Paul looked at her as though searching his own memory, unsure why her presence felt familiar. In that quiet exchange, a thread tightened between them, thin but undeniable. Chani was chosen to guide Paul through the ways of the Fremen. She led him across dunes, taught him how to run without sinking, and corrected his breathing with patient precision. He learned quickly. His steps began to match hers, his instincts sharpening under her guidance. Chani saw him grow more comfortable in the desert, and she felt the land itself respond to him. Danger shaped their connection. They fought through ambushes, navigated canyons under starlight, and sheltered together from cutting winds. Chani watched Paul change as the desert tested him. Their conversations grew longer, their trust deeper. Her heart opened not because of prophecy or legend, but because she saw honesty in him that matched the honesty of the land she loved. She brought Paul into the quiet, sacred places beneath the rock. There she spoke of her father's dream, of the future Arrakis might one day hold. Paul listened with deep respect. Through Chani he saw a world that was more than spice and war. He saw the heart of the Fremen, and he saw the woman who carried that heart with steady grace. When Paul faced the ritual of riding the sandworm, Chani watched with breath tight in her chest. The ritual accepted only those who respected the desert's power. When he rose atop the moving giant and the Fremen roared their approval, pride warmed her heart. In the days that followed, their closeness deepened, shaped by shared purpose and quiet nights beneath the stars. As Paul's rise accelerated, he and Chani found rare peace between battles. Their bond grew into something steady and warm. Chani bore a son, Leto, born amid the chanting of the Sietch, welcomed with joy. For a brief time, the war felt distant, but the final confrontation, the assault on Arrakeen, approached fast. It would decide the fate of the desert and of their future. The attack on Arrakeen gathered like a rising storm. Warriors from every tribe prepared to strike at the Harkonnens and the remaining Carino forces. Chani fastened her still suit and joined the warriors without hesitation. Their son was placed deep within their hidden home under trusted guard. Paul met her eyes before they marched. Their bond spoke clearer than words. The battle tore across Arrakeen with unstoppable force. Worms erupted from the sands, Fremen charged through broken streets, and Paul and Chani fought side by side. But while they battled, a Carino strike force reached their hidden home. Despite fierce resistance, their infant son was killed. Paul and Chani returned expecting triumph and found only silence. Chani stood in the chamber where Leto had been laid to rest, her sorrow deep and still. When Paul claimed the throne, the political world demanded stability. He married Princess Irulan, daughter of Shaddam IV, to calm the Landsraad and keep the Imperium from fracturing. Irulan was trained by the Bene Gesserit, and the sisterhood expected her to bear Paul's children for their breeding program. But Paul told Chani that Irulan would never receive his affection and would never receive his heir. She would have his name only. Jessica reminded Chani that history often sees truth more clearly than titles. Irulan watched Chani with a mixture of duty and resentment. She held the title of Empress, yet she knew she held no part of Paul's heart. The sisterhood feared the strength of Arrakis ancestry mixing with Atreides' blood, and Irulan became their chosen instrument. She moved with quiet calculation, studying Chani from afar. Irulan slipped Bene Gesserit contraceptive agents into Chani's food, subtle compounds meant to stop conception without detection. Chani felt something wrong within her body, but could not identify its cause. In the palace, secrets hid behind every polite word, and this one remained buried in Irulan's steady smile. Chani trusted her instincts and turned away from palace meals. She returned to the harsh but potent Fremen fertility diet. Irulan's influence dissolved quickly. Soon, Chani felt life stirring within her again. Paul rejoiced, but his visions cast shadows across his joy, warning of a future he could not change. This pregnancy drained Chani more than the first. Her strength faded as the twins grew with unusual force. She moved slowly, but with steady resolve, guided by love and certainty. Paul stayed close, watching her with the weight of countless futures pressing against his thoughts. When the moment came, the palace fell silent. Chani delivered twins, Ganima and Leto, children whose eyes carried ancient awareness. She held them briefly before her strength dissolved completely. Paul stayed beside her until the life faded from her. Her death carved a hollow place within him that no throne could fill. Soon after her death, a Tleilaxu agent approached Paul with an offer to restore Chani as a Gola in exchange for control of the Empire. Paul looked into the futures and saw only suffering for her. He refused the offer and ordered the man's execution. Love guided his decision more than power ever had. Irulan carried the weight of her choices in silence. She understood, too late, that she had harmed a woman who wanted only to stand beside the man she loved. Her ambition and obedience to the sisterhood became burdens she carried alone. The twins grew quickly, touched by ancestral memory alive within them. Chani's presence stirred softly inside Ganima, guiding her without force. The girl felt her mother's warmth, lingering like a gentle whisper. As Ganima aged, Chani's presence grew stronger, rising at times with dangerous force. Leto sensed the risk of abomination, the loss of self beneath ancestral voices. He reached into his own memory, searching for a way to protect her. Deep within the hidden places of ancestral memory, Paul reached the echo of Chani. She stood there, not as a fading shadow, but as the clear imprint of everything she had been in life. She saw how her presence pressed against Ganima's mind, threatening to swallow the child beneath the weight of memory. Instead of clinging to what she lost, Chani chose what her daughter needed. She stepped back with a grace free of sorrow, leaving Ganima space to grow in her own light. Her final act as a mother was a quiet sacrifice made in the deepest part of her soul. Chani died the day her twins were born, yet her presence did not fade. Her strength lived in their choices, her instincts guided their paths, and her spirit remained woven into the destiny of the Atreides line, long after the sands covered her body. Across the Imperium, people spoke of Paul as a man shaped by prophecy and war, but those who understood the truth knew where his heart had always rested. Chani was the quiet pulse beneath the legend, the flame that steadied him, and the legacy that endured in their children. Long after she returned to the dunes, her memory moved through Arrakis like a warm wind, a reminder that the truest power often comes in silence.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more great stories. Cheers.